Kinda. Rolling. Kinda. Who knows?
Hey guys and welcome to the next tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be taking a look at the isometric tile map that we created in the last episode and what we can do with it to make it really interactive. Let's get started. We're going to start this episode with this tile set that we created in the last episode. If you haven't seen that one yet, I'll put a link up there. Now, before we really get started into making this wheel interactive, I first want to share with you the problem that we'll be facing if we try to do that through the tile map system. Now, I want to emphasize what I'm about to say now is specifically for isometric tiles. For forward angled tiles or top-down tiles, you don't have this problem. It's specific for isometric. So please keep that in mind when you watch this video and when you apply these lessons to your own game world. Now, when I got the map selected, I'll add a player to it. I made this player before I start the tutorial. We'll get back into this player specifically later. What we want is when the player were to walk behind these bookcases, that the player disappears. Now, the tile map system is very powerful and gives you the option to do that. People drag this player to the library, and on the library, the tile map, you have this option Y sort. And if that is true, the tile map's children, so in this case the player, will be drawing order of their Y coordinates. So with that selected, I can move this player now. I can move it behind the bookcases. So that's all looks good. Now, is it really good? No, it actually isn't, because the player to approach is a little lower. You can see it is now popping in and out between closets, and that's because of the Y coordinate of the actual tile. Now we can change this too. We can change the tile region, or we put the center of the top left, we put the bottom left, and then we can take this player and look how this works. Now this works fine. But now I've broken this bookcase, or this sword case, I should say, because this is a other angle tile, it's a little bit elongated. So that's some issues there because of the diamond shape of the isometric tile. So we need a different solution that we get through the tile map system. We can add them as props, and that's what we'll do next, and that's where this tutorial really starts. Do you want to learn how to design and make games? Maybe you just want to learn more about Godot. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon to make sure you miss out any videos. Also, if you're curious about game development myself, I'm live streaming my own game development sessions every Tuesday and Thursday on Twitch. The link is shared with the description details, everything down in that description box below. Now let's continue. Now the node that we're going to need for our solution is a Y sword node. It's pretty much exactly the same as the Y sword that we were just testing out on the tile map. Only this one doesn't take only a tile map. This one takes every sword to node, body, body, side body, tree position, node to the unit. So to the node, you put in the Y sword, it's pretty guaranteed. I want to make another one, that's our whole demo setup. I make a little bit to the southeast of this tile map. Stick around, I'll show you that one too. So on the test, I'm going to make a new child. I'm making a static body. We're going to be recreating this display case with sword, but then through a prop instead of a tile system. So I'm going to rename it. It's going to be display case with sword oriented east. And I'm immediately going to save this branch as because I just don't want to add one prop. I want to be able to reuse it. I use it again and again and again. Just use the tile set. So I'm saving my scenes props library. We're going to make a couple of props and a couple of scenes for that demo, which we'll get in a moment. So we have saved the scene, and now we open that scene. So we've got pretty much any static body here. So we need to add some information to this. We need to add a sprite node, and we'll also require us to have a collision. We're going to go for a polygon because we're going to find certain parts that we got any use for rectangles like that. So for the sprite, I'm going to go into the assets of the tile set that we've been using in the last episode. So we've been using exactly the same images that came from this tile set assets. So we're going to take that display case sword east, and we're going to drag it to the texture right here. I'm going to get back to my 0, 0. So here we are right now. Right, Y sword, how does it work? That's going to be up next. So Y sword, how does it work? How does it help us? Well, last time we were working on the tile set, we were ordering all our different props and roles through basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. The Y sword doesn't even matter how it's ordered, how it's sorted. All it cares about is the Y coordinate of that specific node. So make sure that it's always going to work together. We make sure we have a fixed reference point from which we can work and go up and get that at our 0, 0 coordinate between the X and the Y axis. So what we're doing, what's actually happening in this case, if the player is walking around this case, you want the player when it's drawn in front of this or walking in front of this case, you want to be drawn in front, when it's walking behind this case, you want to be walking behind. Now we can take a look at the player here. This player is also provided the assets of the dungeon tile set, or dungeon tile set, so you can also find a character in there. So if you want to use this one, you just get it from the same place like I showed you in the previous tutorial time. So I've drawn my character. I actually dragged this character 190 pixels upwards so that we'll put into negative, meaning that positive Y is down. And I've dragged it in such a way that the heels of the character are exactly on the 0, 0 point, on the X0. This way it will be a fixed reference point. So what we need to do with our display case is we're going to drag this right up. We're going to say, okay, as long as the feet of the player are going to be standing in front of this case, the Y of that player is going to be higher than the Y of this bookcase because it will not be able to add a collision shape to it and won't be able to enter through the case anymore. It's never, it's why its feet always going to be below this X reference point that we have for the player. So the feet will always be below the chest for this case. Now we also have to make sure that the player can move around on this side. There's no space here. We can't put it like this. Like how now we make sure that the player can't get behind there. Now the feet will be standing on this side of the image. It will be drawn behind it. That's what we want. So the reference point or good practice or good guideline, I guess, is if you have a rectangular shape as pieces are, always put the corner, which is so in distance. So the first way corner, previous corner for this case, always put that equal with the X line. Now we're going to go back and forth to this a couple of times. But now just to say, we only put a polygon here, so let's quickly draw something out. We'll change that a little bit later. Say that again. Now we go back to this map. And this display case is now somewhere in the corner because it will be spawned in at 0, 0. Just delete it. Don't need it right now because we got our scenes now. And in our scenes, our props are library, not that display sword, west or west sword. Now we just drag it. Just put it in the wheel, however you want. Doesn't matter. We're just like tile set, just add more. Now we get to player. So we drag it around to see. Now it's drawn behind this case. And now, well, now our person's not in front of me. This player inside this test Y sword as well. These ones need to use test Y sword as well. So now with the Y sword, we're figuring out how to draw this. As you can see, the player is now there. Now he's there. This player is behind here. You see here, it pops out. Then we fix that, but it's not drawn behind. If you were to two bookcases close to each other, you can see it will be drawn in front of one and behind the other. That's exactly sort of 3D faking that you want to be doing when you make a 2D game. Now, how can we make sure that the player doesn't accidentally hit that one spot there that we missed out? We identify the problem. So we're going to rectangular shape, not a square shape. So we're going to go back to this way. We're going to work with collision shapes. Or collision shape. We'll be adding this. Normally, in the perfect world, you would make a collision shape equal to where the case hits the floor. You don't want to drag out of the way, but then we'll be able to walk behind it. So you want to sort of have the footprint of that specific piece of assets. And you can live in the story. So right now, the player has a collision shape. So as you can see, we're a little bit margin around the player, because we don't want these handles to glitch into walls or something like that. So I make sure the collision shape of the player is a little bit wider than what we normally need. Now that we make sure that the player comes down here, his collision shape will hit this collision shape before he will be able to move below this X line, thereby drawing it in front of the case. However, we leave too much space here. There's too much for the there's too much space for collision shape to be enough buffer, and the heels will get below this point. The player will be drawn in front. That's sort of collision as artifact as long ago. Now, very obviously, to do some games, the other two being a perfect example. So you can't approach objects from the back as much as you would expect it to be able. And that's because they put a little bit of extra collision shape there. So basically what they do is they make the collision shape like this. Now, you wouldn't necessarily have to drag out this last point, but you don't drag out the last point, you're not going to be parallel with the closet, you'll be hugging it. That would create a really weird feeling. So it's better to just drag out both points a little bit. That way the player will get this strange feeling. So now with this extra little space here, the margin of the player is enough to make sure that we don't hit a weird artifact walking on this side of the closet. So with this, I'm going to save this. Now all these closets, you can see, all have updated their shape. So as soon as you make one update in a single scene, they're all instant. They're all update automatically auto. And that makes it really easy to do something for example, you all your storage space. Everything you do through that one scene. Now we will play this. This player also has camera to be camera to set to currently in the inspector. So when we play this, we should be able to move around with this player. Yes, we can. So now when we walk up here, you can see we have movement slide function and when we collide, so we're sliding past this bookcase. We can move around it. As you can see, I can't approach this closet from the back enough to glitch in front of the closet. I can only get there right there. So this margin that we created on the field of player enough. As you can see, you can't approach the state as much from the back, you may naturally feel like it's possible. The natural energy knows it's just finding angle. This feels close enough to feel natural, as you can see, every single layer there. And this works for all these closets at the same time. Now with that done, you know how to make a prop. You can do exactly the same with these barrels, you can do exactly the same with these walls, with these closets, and that's like working on, and that's what the demonstration wise for. So let's switch to that one and have a look at how you can use actually build some levels. And I can for you how you can actually make sure that you snap those walls together super easily so you can get exactly the same effect you do in the time system. Let's start on that. Now let's move away from this old tile set and go to the demonstration I was talking about. I've already removed the white source that we renamed to test as no longer needed. Right here in the layer down, you can see a little initiate. These are all props. The only tiles that are still in this section are 4 tiles. I don't see any reason why to use them for 4. It works perfectly fine as we are. As long as you know the white source 4 tiles, you're good. You don't have to initiate the 4 tiles. For example, if you want to have any sort of river or lake or something outside, fine. That works perfectly fine. So all together all these props. I'll give you a demonstration of that. Maybe another video or next one. So right here in the layer down, let's go over a couple of these assets. I'll give you some tips on how to use it. First off, with the white source itself. The white source has children and has other white source has children. Now this has a little bit of special functionality. If a white source knows it's a child of a white source, and this white source becomes non-functional and only becomes a container to pass on its children to the white source that it is a child of. So this white source will collect the children of all the white sources in one big bucket, and then will draw them out based on their white coordinate. That's very important because these white sources basically become non-functional and then passing on their children to the next white source. Now you have container white source, which you can use to sort of organize your project between the walls inside. The white source being the props inside, the props white source being layer, that white source and of course being ready for enemies and projectiles. When you enemies, you can write enemies and your projectiles in these specific white source will pass them on to the main white source, which is going to sort all of them on that based on the white coordinate. That will play the wall around it across. Those are your enemies, your bullets, your fireballs, your projectiles, arrows, or whatever will be drawn order and everything will fly in front of all different props. You have to make it very powerful for organization methods. Now with that white source out of the way, let's look at some of the scenes how to set up what you learned from that. Now with some of the scenes, let's start with these ones. These bookcases here. These bookcases are pretty much like this big case sort we made earlier. Only this big case sort a lot more elongated. That might create a lot more space between its corner and the Y0 line. That's not the case with this bookcase. This space right here is a lot smaller enough for the margin of the player to be enough to make sure you don't get any weird glitches. So that's why I use the true footprint of the book closet to make the book closet now for the walls all have the extra spacing requirement as you saw with the sword display. This is the case. So I've not only taken the footprint but I put it a little bit further. And again, I put the corner of the wall in the first corner on the Y0 x-axis. Now another important thing is that when you're working with these sprites for the walls, make sure you always set the x to 0. So we didn't have to do that one for this wall yet. And in my case, I'm using y by increments of 10. So you can see the corner is exactly on the Y0. And that's very important to not always do because when you use grid snapping, grid snapping only work if the walls are lined up nicely. So I'm using increments of 10 for y, using increments for u. So depending on how big that is, that's the kind of thing. Maybe a maybe work pixel, maybe you might want to bring that increment down to maybe 4 or 8 pixels. Now we have a little wall corner. This is pretty much the same that we want the player to be drawing in front of the wall because inside corner. So the heel of the player has to be lower than the corner. So we put inside corner exactly on the Y0 x-axis line. We're going to get a little bit extra space on both sides to make sure that the player doesn't glitch through the wall. Now with all that set up, let's see this wall here very good. We now see this now. Let's see the layer. Let's see how this wall behaves. Now I'm moving on these book closets. You understand the layer apart from each other is all works fine for the bookcase that tested previously. And the wall, how the wall right now, as you can see, I'm glitching nowhere through this wall. Actually, getting a little extra space actually works. Make sure to keep our head above the wall there. They will see stuff. So that's there. So these barrels, we make sure that we stand the corner here. Our feet just line there. That's sort of specific individual details. Make sure everything falls fine. That's very difficult to set up with a talent editor. It's much easier to do in one of these props. So that's how we actually use it to quite quickly build up a level instead of dragging into detail and everything. So if you put an individual detail, what I mean by that is if I was drawing the wall down, first I select the wall white source, make sure it goes into the right container. You have to really drag these very closely, make sure they all line up nicely, and then you have to drop some point. If you get it right, it goes so slow. It's actually much faster. So if we use the grid snap, I'll get a toolbar here. You get the grid snap. When I press that, it's free. The circle is there. You can figure snap. And I set the grid snap 10 pixels. I'm using a 10 pixel increment in the y coordinate of all the different walls. Make sure it's lined up nicely. So now I set my 10. Now I cannot find these all the now I'm snapping it to a 10 by 10 pixel grid. I very easily find all that wall. So with that, I select this wall. I drag them in straight away. One by one. It takes a little time. Now I miss it. I gotta be careful. When you miss it, you select it. You reposition it to the right way. Like this wall select. You now have the next one. Now make child level. That's much more. You want all the child is one thing. So we're a little bit faster. You also just add a couple of these things. Okay. You know, wall to 4 long and much you can drag me into the right snap position. So you fast. You know, fast enough. Let's make this wall longer to demonstrate that. You also select it. Control D, duplicate it. Then you just drag it out, drag it out, drag it out, and because we're duplicating the white source container, you're just adding more and more of these to specific things. So all you can white source. So that's the way I use grid snapping. Now also I'm going to be making some interaction with the game. I'm not doing that in this tutorial. It's going to be longer. I do want to show you what the possibilities are. So next 2 for now, taking on D, what's possible by using all these as props. So possibilities actually kind of big. And the possibilities are very related to problems that people face in the work of tiles. The questions I've seen by the people. For example, okay, then you got tiles set. You got tiles set with door. Now, don't have a property with the wall. But with the walls, we do know that we got the walls here. So imagine you have your tiles set and you add your wall to a world. And now you want to okay, how is the player going to track that wall? You have walls in a tiles set. Yes, you can put a script on this specific tiles set to do the things that we're doing right now. It's much more deeper. You have to color. You can just use all the parameters of a second all the parameters are sitting on there. You're working with tiles set. So imagine one of these walls is actually a door. So that's this could be a door. If you do this, add challenge, add area 2D to this, and this area 2D add a collision. And a collision is going to be a circle. So that's about it. Place in the tiles set to do things like this. As soon as the player enters the player enters area 2D, the door should make a pop. Maybe the action might be or the action work should be door action. It also just for action. The action will change functionality based on simplicity. Or you can text what's area 2D. And if you do that one wall, they'll actually roll. If you roll board, all have area 2D. Now, you put area 2D up to close. You can roll board games. So that's 6 in one go. You have to add that to move the wheel. You have to go to that. Add area 2D and make that overlap with the door. You just like put your and suddenly area 2D is one position. So with that, actually pretty cool option. However, nothing to ask. Just book closing. Now we can check on the board. You can look at the scene. Or just see action. And all the cases actually look. There's random special cases on G numbers. So there's an example cases in the level of the loop. That way, every case was the last time they played that. Now, so if you higher, you have more random. So there's more bizarre. You know things now. So with that, for example, you say, I'm going to do book closing. And book closing. I added to a group in order to see how it's done that. So I added to a book closing group. What you do now on that is I'm going to use script. And this script, you're going to run some function. Let's say randomize loop, for example. And run some function there. Essentially randomize C, for closet game. Get 3. Get those 4. Get those in group. Book closets. Closets. Yeah, I like that. We're going to do a random function. You have to be they have to be loopable, and then I'm going to add area 2D or I'm going to change the highlights. No, this is not a code. But in there, this code runs in the code. So this code function. This is every book case. All the book cases. You can place the main scene in a group. All the book cases are in a group. Copy these. This is a group. Or in other words, select book case. Also, this one in a group. So all the book cases are in a group. So we pull the function down to the tree. You say run function. Select the number 1. Get number 1 then I want to add area 2D before I activate area 2D. Or the mouse hover over is all that book cases area 2D. I want to create highlights in the live video or shadow or it's like we do all kinds of things. You have to worry about detailing that inside that and detail that in the props of the props. And all the copy and you also use fast. So I think I'm now finishing a couple of videos show you what's possible. It's not totally create a world. It's only like create a world. I can't tell you. You have 4 angles now. You don't need to do this. You might as well do it. You get all the functions these props. So that's that. Now let's go to the smash a lot of cases. Right. Don't check out which how you can do them myself and stay tuned for the next episode of the tutorial making them. I think next tutorial is
Hi, in this devlog I will explain step by step how to make isometric world map scenes in Godot engine, so let's go. The first thing we need to understand is how straight lines work in isometric projection, and this is pretty easy as we only need to follow the simple rule of 2 pixels sideways and 1 pixel up or down. And this is everything there is to sketch simple rectangular shapes. I found super helpful to follow that rule by using this helper grid, which is simply a pattern of this 8x8 pixel square. And with this grid we can create a wireframe cube just by connecting the edge points of 2 neighboring squares. But if we would simply fill in our wireframe shape with a single color, the resulting object can't lose its 3D appearance completely. And to fix that we simply need to adjust the lightness of the cube faces, but even for simple shapes the selection of realistic values might be somewhat puzzling without acknowledging art or shading. But no worries, we can cheat a bit using Godot, because as you might know, Godot supports 3D rendering with an orthogonal viewport, and this means that we can set up a scene that resembles an isometric pixel art view where the setting and the shadows are precisely calculated by the 3D engine. And just like that we are able to get reference pictures for our pixel art scenes in different lighting conditions, like in the morning, at noon, or in the evening. Okay, so next I took the path from my original 2D art and I started crafting isometric world map tiles, which are kind of isometric versions of the 2D tiles I built before. And then I added some front texture to the tiles so that I can layer paths on which I layer and navigate from level to level. Okay, so now we have the tile sprites ready. Let's go to Godot and create the first isometric tile map. Here I first add a new scene and change the default type of node 2D to the tile map node. After that, it's important to set the tile map node to isometric and set cell size to be compatible with our tile sprite size. This is a story and isometric grid where we can then layer insert the tiles. So next let's create a new tile set and import the tile sprites. I need to run effort and create new single tile for each sprite, which might be cumbersome if you have a large set of sprites. So if you know a fast way to do this, please let me know. Okay, then back in Godot, we can already start laying tiles, but as you can see we have a problem here because there is a slight y-axis offsetting the original sprites. To correct this, we can simply toggle the center texture option, and this way we achieve the correct alignment of the sprites. As final step for the tile, we want to set a collision shape so that the player can only move along the path parts of the shapes. As final step for the tile, we achieve the correct alignment of the sprites. As final step for the tile, we want to set a collision shape so that the player can only move along the path parts of the tiles. Plus, one important point I found about setting collision shape size is that you want the collision shapes of individual tiles to line up exactly to avoid some jaggedness of walls where the layer is stuck. So that's why I'm on the path parts of the tiles. Plus, one important achieve the correct alignment of the sprites. As final step for the tile, we want to set a collision shape so that the player can only move along the path parts of the tiles. Plus, one important point I found about setting collision shape size is that you want the collision shapes of individual tiles to line up exactly to avoid some jaggedness of walls where the layer is stuck. So that's why I'm inputting the collision shape vertices manually. And so finally we have a complex isometric tile map where we can place tiles just like in traditional 2D tile map. And here I'm demonstrating how to make a simple cross section of 2 crossing paths, but that needs to be without fault the tile placement here takes a bit more time, which is still not too bad given that it's just about ground and the path parts. Now I'm a big fan of runners exactly to avoid some jaggedness of walls where the layer is stuck. So that's why I'm inputting the collision shape vertices, but that needs to be without fault the tile placement here takes a bit more time, which is still not too bad given that it's just about ground and the path parts. Now I'm a big fan of runners, so I decided to pixel miniature versions of each 4 levels to the world map. And to start with I simply screenshotted the Godot tile maps and imported them as backgrounds so that I can instantly see how the runners feel on the map. And right here I'm working on climbing level diorama on live stream, which basically was a big copy and paste action once I had the basic tile shape done for the particle level. But unfortunately as I imported the sprites in Godot, the result was not quite what I was expecting. So after some googling I came across with these white sword nodes, which are including Godot these exactly these sort of problems. So let's first look at this example scene with an ordinary 2D node as the parent node, and here the player character is drawn always after the diorama sprite, and so the player will be always on top of the diorama. Instead, if you change the 2D node type into white sword node, the player will be drawn behind the diorama as soon as the white position of the player exceeds the white position of the diorama. While this is already an improvement, it still doesn't solve the problem entirely. But unfortunately, these fixes just adjust the white value of the diorama sprite, and so finally as we move the player behind the diorama walls, we get the result we wanted. After some pixels in the dioramas, I added some flowers and bushes here and there so that the map part the player will be always on top of the diorama. Instead, if you change the 2D node type into white sword node, the player will be drawn behind the diorama as soon as the white position of the player exceeds the white position of the diorama. While this is already an improvement, it still doesn't solve the problem entirely. But unfortunately, these fixes just adjust the white value of the diorama sprite, and so finally as we move the player behind the diorama walls, we get the result we wanted. After some pixels in the dioramas, I added some flowers and bushes here and there so that the map parts would not look that empty. And as final touch, I drew the sliding monster thing to the entrance to the jungle and had this fancy glow effect to it. So that's all there was to the isometric world maps. I hope this was helpful to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the follow-up video. Cheers and bye bye. Hi, today I'll compare my data skills at the beginning and after finishing my first summer game project. So in case you are considering starting something similar, there might be some pieces you will find interesting. The year 2021 was a year I fell in love with pixel art. Almost every evening I used to listen to my favorite tunes while sketching simple pieces with a small resolution. Even though I started practicing 0 didn't take too long, maybe a few months ago from this, into this. I'll also be a shout out to the book called Make Your Own Pixel Art, which was very helpful while taking the first steps. One thing I learned on the way, which people seem to like, is the isometric pixel art style. These are trickier than ordinary pixel art, but if you learn it, are going to develop still solid side. As a rookie gamer, I simply couldn't resist the constant stare of a cute little robot, and so instead of me choosing Godot engine, Godot chose me. Anyway, in the beginning, my and cheesy Godot were all over the place. I used to make all kinds of mistakes like trying to back the whole game into one scene, and so on and so on. But then after mistakes, I also started to figure out some Godot concepts like in here dance and cinemas. Also some broken patterns and Godot features turned out to be an absolute lifesaver. So shout out to the stage into the game editor and all that function in comments to be. But one thing that certainly helped me to explore Godot video sets, I really didn't have any plans at any point. For example, one day I decided to create the same level with lighting and the timings were much more than I was intended. Of course, like every artistic attempt, I had to give it a serious chance. Before this, the only thing I knew about compression was some salary rules on how the YouTube algorithm works. Well, like probably 99% of all gamers, veteran 5 years and so practically no growth at all. At the time I'll see just about every single review object. But then show you for the detail, I saw video on how to go about YouTube as the end viewer. If you want to check out videos, you need to deliver a review for a viewer. And so instead of turning off fast, you get another basically takes time to do. Well, the difference is I wrote that data script, I built the footage, I prepared some animations, and I learned how to use the video software. And I actually paid off. Since the 6 level posted, it has amassed today about 80% of all the views of the channel. I guess all of you who watched this video can remember how it was back in 2021 when the lockdowns. I mean, basically all I was for the connection, and for me, in game the connection was isolating footage. When looking at the stats, the beginning was quite silent. The first few months, it was just me and randomly some viewers and checkers. But then after a while, I started to see some viewers coming back, and I think it was because I started to get active channels. But it's also important to here is that there are periods of low and high activity. For example, in Sweden 2023, the most more than say 4.2. And of course, there's some more as well. One of them is from April 22, and I was slightly bored, but I was also then all of a sudden I hear more events and the chat goes absolutely bonkers. So I built my streaming space to learn that the streamer has already and brought over 300 viewers on my channel. And just like that, the world is night, and I can clearly remember reading myself after this. Wow, just wow. One of the things I'll mention is that my real life stream hours and push me to do more daily development. So which was in a sense a replacement for more remote. Alright, it's March 24th, 2024. Games are published on the channel, and the question is what's next. And as is, I really hope at least for the next 2.5 years. What I know is, I want to only build games. If I find something cool, I'll progress, really and I want to stream randomly, then I'll have time to it. Okay, that's my story of being hobby for 2.5 years. So now let's go and make some games, shall we? Okay, cheers and bye-bye.
In this video, I'm going to show you how you can have collision.
Bazooka, but how much? Thank you. There's no wise.
Hey, welcome to the next tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be taking a look at the concept that we created in the last episode and what we can do with it to make it really interactive. Let's get started. We're going to start this episode with this concept that we created in the last episode. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll put a link up there. Now, before we get started making the world interactive, I first want to share with you the problem we're facing if you're trying to do different system. Now, I want to emphasize what I'm saying now is specifically for isometric tiles. Before and down or up down, you don't have this problem. It's specific isometric. So please keep in mind your video when you're applying this to your game. Now, when I get to make this player before I start to get back into this player later. All we want is to play with wall behind these bookcases that play this players. Now, Thomas is very powerful. You do that. People drag this player to the library. And the library is not, you have to optimize and that's true. Thomas children does this player. We'll draw whatever coordinates. So with that selected, I can move this player now. I can move behind bookcases. That's all good. Now, it's really good. Normal actually, the player will throw a little lower. You can see it's not popping in and out between closets. And that's going to be one coordinate of the actual tile. We change this to and change the tile region for the center of the beautiful combat. And then we take this player and move it as well. Now, I broke this bookcase. Or this sword case, I should say. Because this is a other angle tile is a little longer. So let's make sure that here's the diamond shape of my tile. So we have a different solution we get for Thomas system. We need to add that and that's what we do next. And that's what the tutorial really starts. Do you want to learn how to design games? Maybe you want to learn more about subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to get the like and share the videos. Also, if you're interested in myself, I'm not streaming all the section. Choose the first link, share the description details, everything down in the description box. Now, the note we're going to need for our solution is a white sword. No, it's pretty much the exact same as a white sword that we're just testing out on the Thomas. Only this one doesn't take the Thomas. This one's heavy sword. You know, anybody decide what you do. There's no the note. It's the same white sword that we're just testing out on the Thomas. Only this one white sword that we're just testing out on the pretty much the exact same white sword that we're
have an actual.
Testing out on the time. Only this one doesn't take any time. This one takes every sort of anybody, site, should know the so you know the so you know the so I make the stuff this time. Stick around, I'll show you. So when I'm new child, I'm making a set. What we're going to create is display case with source, but then we'll process that so I'm renaming it as a display case with source, east. And I'm needing to save this branch as one problem we use again and use the concept. So I'm using scenes across my running a couple of scenes for that demo to So we have save the scene and we open the scene. So the connection is so we ask information we add triangle and we'll also require us to have illusion. We go to polygon where concept parts we use for triangles. So for this I'm going to go into the assets of the concept we're using in the last episode. So we're using the same thing as the concept. So I think this case for east, I'm going to do that here. I'm going to get back to my 0, 0. So here we are right now. Why how does it work? That's the next. So why how does it work? How does it help? Well, that's like we're in the concept. We're ordering the different possible basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. The why we're doing that the power sort. All it cares about is the y coordinate of that specific node. So make sure that it's ordered together. We make sure that fixed reference point work. And go to the step as 0, 0 coordinate x and y axis. So what we do was like if the player walking around this case, you'll play drawing in front of this one, one is drawing front, one is drawing behind. I can take a player here. So that goes by the assets of the version concept, concept, so we'll find character there. So we use this one to get the same place that I showed you in the previous tutorial. So I draw my character actually the max character 190 pixels upwards that will be negative, and that's positive y down. And I'm trying to such a way that he will character exactly on the 0, 0 point x 0. This way it will be a fixed reference point. So what we do in our display is we're going to drag this by up, we're going to say as long as the feet of the player standing in front of this case, the y of that player is going to be higher than the y of this player. It will not be able to add collision to it, and for occasional. It's never going to be below this reference point we have for players. The feet will always be below that just for this case. Now we also have to make sure that they can move around this. We're going to we can't do like this. Now we make sure that they can like the feet standing on this side of the image. It will draw behind it. So the reference point or the practice work 9 minus 6 rectangle shape as these are. Always the corner is this. So the first way corner is this case. Always that equal to this one. Now we go back forward to this couple times. Now just this same point we can polygon here. So we can draw some out. We'll change that later. Say that again. Now we go back to this map. And this case now somewhere in the corner.
So it's a new set and make rows. Entity. Or John. So I will click this thing.
Port is the weak small 0 0 simply 20 around us. We got our C now, and our C now around us. West the first. Now use it. This really will. I mean, we're just outside add one more. Now we get clear. So we're around the C. Now it's behind the C. And now, well, now of course, nothing to do with clear. Inside this test, so all these ones to use.
I didn't play.
Now, when I figure out the hash rate, you can see that there's now there. This player behind here. You see here pops out. Then you fix that, but it's not wrong. Two cases close to each other.
I see. I forgot. Right.
You see, we're from one and behind that's sort of free thinking. That's what you're doing when you're making 2D. Now, how can you show that the players at one spot there, we decide we identify the problem, we're rectangular shape, we're going to play with the polygon, we're use rectangles like that. So for spline, I'm going to go into the assets of the tilesets we've been using in the last episode. So we've been using the same image to take one as assets. So I think this is the case for E, so I'm going to actually I'm going to get back to my 0, 0. So here we are right now. Right, how does it work? That's next. So how does it work? How does it help? Well, that's how we work in the tileset. We're ordering our different props, proof, basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. The y coordinate doesn't matter the power sort, the power sort. All it cares about is the y coordinate of that specific node. So make sure that those are working together. We make sure that this reference point work. And go to that as 0, 0 coordinate between x and y axis. So what we do is actually in this case, if the player is walking around this case, you know the player runs strong in front of this, or walking on this case, you want to be drawn in front, so you want to be behind. I can take a player here. This player also by the assets of the dungeon tileset, or dungeon tileset, and so we'll find a character there. So when you use this one, you use that same place that I showed you in the previous tutorial. So I'm drawing my character actually as an axis, this character. I'm 90 pixels upwards that will be negative, and go as positive y down. And I'm trying to such a way that he will character exactly on the 0, 0 coordinate x 0. This way it will be a fixed reference point. So what we're doing with our display is we're drawing this right up, we're going to say, okay, as long as the feet of the player are standing. from this case, the y of that player is going to be higher than the y of this it might be able to add the 0, 0, 1 is 0. This way it will be a fixed parameter. So all you do in this case is going to drag this right up. We're going to say as long as the feet of the player are standing from this case, the y of that player is going to be well, that's not we work in the concept. We're ordering our different cross rules through basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. But once we're doing that power sort, all it cares about is the y coordinate of that specific node. So we have zeta c and now we open c. So we have to change that making a static body. We're going to be recreating this display case with sort, but then through a prop instead of a tile system. So I'm going to rename it. It's going to be display case with sort. Recreating this display case with sort, but then through a prop instead of a tile system. So I'm going to rename it. It's going to be the display case with sort orientated east. And I'm immediately going to save this branch as because I just don't want to add one prop. I want to be able to be reusable. I can use it again and again and again, just like I use a tile set. So I'll be saving it in my scenes props library. I already made a couple of props and a couple of scenes for that demo, which we'll get into in a moment. So we have zeta c, and now we open that c. So we have to change that body here. So we need to add some information to this. We need to add a sprite node and the will also require us to have a relationship. I'm going to go for I want to be able to be reusable. I use it again and again and again. Just like I use rename it. It's going to be display case with sort orientated east. And I'm immediately going to save this branch as because I just don't want to add one prop. I want to be able to be reusable. I use it again. Again, just use a tile set. So I'm saving it in my scenes props library. I already made a couple of props and a couple of scenes for that demo, which we'll get into in a moment. So we have zeta c, and now we open that c. So we have to change that body. So we need to add some information to this. We need to add a sprite node, and it will also require us to have a relationship. We're going to go for polygon because we're going to art, so we got any use for rectangles like that. So for sprites, I'm going to go into the assets of the tile set that we've been using in the last episode. So we're basically using exactly the same images that came from this tile set assets. So we're going to take this display case sort east, and we're going to do the texture right here. I'm going to get back to my 0, 0. So here we are right now. Right, why so how does it work? That's going to be up next. So why so how does it work? How is it going to help us? Well, last time we were working on the tile set. We're ordering all our different props and rules through basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. Why so doing that power sort, all it cares about is the y coordinate of that specific node. So make sure this order works together. Make sure that this reference point works. And we're going to add 0 coordinate, we get y. So we'll do all that with this. We'll play one front, we'll play one front, we'll play one front, so I take a click here. So there's like the assets of the tile set. So use one that show you in the piece for the time. So I want to actually the next part is I'm going to this offer that we'll do this all the way down. And I'm trying to show you the heels exactly on the 0, 1, 8, 0. This way we'll get this reference point. So you do the next part up. We're going to say as long as the feet of there from this case, the y of there from the higher than y of this. It will be add relationship and is there one feet below this reference point? Have like 2 below that. Now we also make sure that they can run this. This is how this how make sure they have the things and this will not so the rest work.
Okay, okay. All right. All right, listen. Now we go back for this other time. Now for this stage, we're going to following answers.
A couple of times, but now just this saved, we only need to put a polygon in here. So let's quickly draw. Something out. We'll change that a little bit later. Save that again. Now we can go back to this map, and it's this place. Okay, it's now somewhere in the corner because we spawned in at 0, 0. We're just going to delete it. Don't need it right now because we got our scenes now, and in our scenes, our props are library. Now got this place sort, west or west sort. Now you can just drag it. You just put it in the wheel, however many you want. Doesn't matter. We're just like set, just add more and more and more. Now we take this player. So we're going to drag this one around. You'll see now it's drawn behind this case, and now, well, now of course it's not in front of you. We put this player inside this test y sword as well. One of these coins need to be in this test y sword as well. So now we're in the y sword. And the y sword.
Tree is massive. Oh, big tree. Yes. Big tree. Doesn't go. What that flip?
So we figure out how should I draw this. As you can see, the player is now the player. No, player. This player is behind here. You see here it pops out. Then we need to fix that, but it's now drawn behind this. And if you were to put two bookcases close to each other, you can see it will be drawn in front of one and behind the other. And that's exactly the sort of 3D faking that you want to be doing when you're making a 2D game. Now, how can we make sure that so, how does it work? How is this going to help us? Well, last time we were working with the tile set, we were ordering all our different props and walls through basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. The Y sort doesn't really matter how it's ordered or how it's sorted. All it cares about is the Y coordinate of that specific node. So to make sure that it's always going to work together, we need to make sure that we got a fixed reference point from which we can work on. And Godot pretty much gives that at our 0, 0 coordinate between the X and the Y axis. So what we'll be doing and what is actually happening with this case, if the player is walking around this case, you want the player when it's drawn in front of this walking in front of this case, we want to be drawing in front. When it's walking behind this case, we want to be walking behind. Now, if we take a look at the player here, this player is also provided in the assets of the dungeon tile set, or dungeon tile set assets from Kenny, so you can also find a character in there. So if you want to use this one, you just get it from the same place that I showed you in the previous tutorials and time lapse. So I've drawn my character. I've actually dragged the sprite of this character 190 pixels upwards, so that will put it into negative in Go this. Positive Y is down. And I've dragged it in such a way that the heels of the character are exactly on the 0, point, on the X0. This way, it will be in a fixed reference point that the heels of the character Y is down, upwards, so that will put it into negative. 190 pixels upwards, so that will put it into negative in Go this. Positive Y is down. And I've dragged it in such a way that the heels of the character are exactly on the 0, point, on the X0. This way, it will be in a fixed reference point. So what we need to be doing with our display case is we're going to be dragging the sprite up. We can say, okay, as long as the feet of the player are going to be standing in front of this case, the Y of that player is going to be higher than the Y of this bookcase, because it will not be able, if you add a collision shape to it, and won't be able to enter through the case anymore. Its Y, its feet are always going to be below this X reference point that we have for the player, so the feet will always be below the chest. For display case. Now, we also, of course, have to make sure that the player can't move around on this side, because we have a little space here. Well, we can't put like this, like how, now we would make sure the player can't get behind there. Now the feet will be standing on this side of the image. It will be drawn behind the case. That's not what we want. So, a reference point or good practice, or good guideline, I guess, is if you have a rectangular shape isometric piece of art, always put the corner, which is sort of in distance, so the first way corner, which would be this corner for this display case, always put that equal with the X line. Now, we're going to be going back and forth to this a couple of times, but now just this saved, we only need to put a polygon here, so let's quickly draw something out. We'll change that a little bit later. Save that again. Now we can go back to this map, and this display case is now somewhere in the corner because it will be spawned in as 0. I'm just going to delete it. Don't need it right walls together super neatly so you can get exactly the same effect as you do in the time lapse system. Let's get started on that. Now let's move away from this old tile set and go to the demonstration I was talking about. I've already removed the Y source that we renamed to test as we no longer need it. Right here we got a little bit of demo, and you can see from the collision shapes, these are all props. The only tiles that are still in this section are the floor tiles. I don't see any reason why not to use them. For the floor, it works perfectly fine in isometric art. As long as you don't need the Y sort of floor tiles, you're good. You can also add coalition shape to the floor tiles. For example, if you want to have any sort of rivers or lakes, for example, an outside environment, that works perfectly fine as well. Also together with all these props, and I'll probably give a demonstration of that maybe in another video, maybe already next one. Case with sword orientated east, and I'm immediately going to save this branch as because I just don't want to add one prop. I want to be able to be reusable, so I can use it again and again and again, just like I use a tile set. So I'll be saving it in my scenes props library. I've already made a couple of props and a couple of scenes for that demo, which we'll get into in a moment. So we have it saved as a scene, and now we can open that scene. So we've got pretty much an empty static body here. So we need to add some information to this. We need to add a sprite node, and it will also require us to have a collision shape. I'm going to go for a polygon because we're working with isometric art, so we don't really got any use for rectangles and stuff like that. So for the sprites, I'm going to go into the assets of the tile set that we've been using in the last episode. So we've been using exactly the same images to paint this tile set assets. So I'm going to take this case for east, and we're going to do the right here. I'm going to get back to my 0, 0. So here we are right now. Right, why does palette work? That's next. So why does palette work? How does that help us? Well, that's like we're working on the tile set. We're ordering all our different props through basically ordering different nodes within the node tree. The Y sort doesn't matter the power sort. All it cares about is the Y coordinate of that specific node. So make sure that it's all work together. We make sure that a fixed reference point we can work and go predict that at 0, 0 coordinate between X and Y axis. So what we're doing is actually happening in this case. If the player is walking around this case, you want the player that's drawn in front of this, walking in front of this, you want to be drawn in front, once walking behind this, you want to be walking behind. I can take a look at the player here. This player is also provided the assets of the dungeon tile set or dungeon tile set, so you also find a character in there. So if you want to use this one, you just get it from the same place that I showed you in the previous tutorial. So I've drawn my character actually, a giant sprite character, 190 pixels upwards, that will be negative, that's positive Y down. And I've dragged this way, the heels of the character exactly on the 0, 0 point X0. This way it will be a fixed reference point. So what we're doing in our display is we're dragging this sprite up, we say, as long as the feet of the player are standing in front of this case, the Y of the player is going to be higher than the Y of the bookcase. They won't be able to add collision shape, they won't be able to anymore. It's never Y feet will be below this reference point we have for the player, so the feet will be below that. Now we also have to make sure that they can move around this. If we let it space, we'll like this out. Now we make sure that they're going to get the feet standing this side of the image. It will draw behind it. So the reference point or good practice or good guideline, if you have rectangular shapes, also the corner is so first the corner, also equal with the X. Now we go back and forth to this a couple times. Now just this same point, on the here, so let's quickly draw some out, change that later. See that again. Now we go back to this map. This is now somewhere in the corner, so we spawn in 0, 0. Simply don't around this. I've seen properly around this. Where's the now this is what I want. We're tile set and more. Now we play. So we're back to now behind this. And now what I'm going to do is here. It's all these things. So we're going to have patch see there's another this player here. See here. Let me fix that. But now I'm going to do 2 pixels. You see one from one. That's what 3 feet. What you're doing. Now I'm sure that they're one spot there. You start. We're going to change this question. So we're going to do this. We're going to collision. And it's only if I will to the collision equal to that. In case we're going to wait, then we'll so we'll have a footprint of this asset. And so right now the player has a collision. So you see a little margin out there. We don't have to collision. I'm sure collision. Like little margin out there. Now I'm sure there's down here collision. This collision before it will be below this line. Now I'm trying to find. However, this space is too much for you guys. This is too much collision to be offered. And he will get below this one. This collision is offered. So you can see this. You'll do this. You can't approach that much to expect it. And that's a little bit of collision. This is what you do. Make collision like this. Now we're necessarily last one. Last one. We'll parallel to you. Now we're going to just have both of it. Now I'm playing this strategy. So now this collision here. The margin player is enough to ensure that we don't get the artifact this so that's the now all these because it's all how they actually want to be seen. All these all of us and we use them for the sources. And you do that. Now we're going to display all the cameras. Turning in so we can move on this. So now we'll see the most function we collect for sign pass. Move on. Control stuff enough to push in front of and right. So this one you create enough. Actually control the like actually make sure you actually know this is enough to match this is this all at the same time. Now I'm not going to use that same thing. You guys can do that. So just how to use it. So I'm sure you have to use that. Now the way to also go to the
that you can't walk off the edge, you can't walk on red tiles, and you're able to walk behind walls that you can't intersect with. So let's go. If you want details on how this was set up, make sure to watch part 1. The first, let's go to our tile map to set up collision in the tile set tab.
Good amount of time. 52 minutes. Doing the thing. Is this better? This is probably better. I can talk lower. Bah. Ah. I mean, that feels better. Maybe a little higher. Probably there is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Or I could just like talk closer to my mic. But whatever. It'd be like that. Alright. End stream.